Good morning. I welcome everybody to this third session. We are in the session 3 of a 3-part series, the 3 keys you cannot afford to miss if you want to get to your destiny. And today we are talking about the third part, and that is dealing what hinders us. We have been talking before about all the power that is within us that we can mobilize in order to get to our destinies. We have defined how big it is, the vision of the kingdom, and how to live there as ambassadors for the kingdom. And now the big question is, why don't we do it? And I'm really excited about this last part because that defines a breakthrough, the breakthrough that opens up the way to really process, to really press in, to really get into this, what we have seen so wonderfully before. And now here we are. You see the screen now. The 3 keys you can't afford. Now that's our topic. And what I said is overcome what and how to live in victory. So what we need to do something. So very obviously, first let's just go back and review really what we had before. We have been looking at, in the first session of the 3, we've been looking at our brain, that you have a growth of the good thing or a withering. So good thoughts bring healthy trees. The neurons are created, so we actually get a tree of neurons within you, and bad thoughts brings them to wither. And each thought is reflected in our cell, is reflected in our DNA and down to our genes. So it is very important that we deal with thoughts on the one hand. And the other part we have been looking at, you recall here that we had the triangle. So we have the thought, where our vision is, and where the vision is created. And we had a heart, our heart. We were showing you this very new and interesting research where we see that what God has placed in our heart, that there is a secret power, a machine, so to say. So if we take this heartbeat and transform that into sound, that this has a power to heal us, to bring us into harmony, to have that has a reflection on our soul that calms us down. And then our thinking has an immense influence, not only on ourselves, of course, but also to our environment. And now, because thinking is so important, we discussed in the second part of the series the thinking as an ancient port. The Bible talks about it as an ancient port, where our visions, where the king actually is welcome, where he can enter, he can take possession out of us. And we saw the highest vision is actually God's vision, and how that enabled us to function in his kingdom and to move on, to really make it to our destiny. And finally, and that is actually the destiny, to be here as ambassadors of the kingdom here on earth. Now, as wonderful that is, apparently, if we do not perform in that way, that seems to be something that hinders us. And that all pins down to the fact that we do have an enemy. Now, that's the devil, of course. God has designed it so that we are here in the effort on the earth to really make our way and come to this glory he has, to regain the glory he has prepared for us. Now, what is the enemy doing? He cannot touch our spirit, because the spirit has been created by God. He has been born again. He is holy. He is so holy. He cannot touch us. That's sacrosanct within you. He cannot kill us, but he can harm our body, so he can bring diseases to it if there is an opening for it. And guess what? The opening will be, of course, the thoughts, because the only pathway he has to us, to affect us in some way, is our thoughts, is our mind. And by that he reaches our soul, by that he comes into our body and he can affect it. So because that is a pathway, because that's the ancient portal, because that is so important, we need to deal with it. And we need to understand the strategy of the enemy in order to deal with this and to get it out of the way and to be equipped. stronghold. As we said, the devil, he cannot keep us. So that's a really frustrating situation. He cannot, once we are saved, once we have been born again, he cannot keep us from heaven. He can't erase our name out of the book of life. He can't destroy our body, but he can mess up our mind. But of course, if God truth invades our soul, invades us, then he has lost. And that is a point we want to get to. Now, what are his weapons? Very well known is, of course, we have the thoughts, what is coming in, and he makes us stumble with sin. So usually that's always, you get a thought, you look something, you get the inner vision, or you see something in the natural, you look at it, you think at Eve, even in the paradise, now they saw the fruit. So that's always is a process. It's not going from one day to the other. This is a very active thing. How he can paralyze us, that is through accusation, the perceived weapon he has. So he brings to you, you are not good enough, you are not performing well enough, you did this wrong, probably you did that wrong, you are not worthy, you are not holy enough, you need to do much better in order to really perform right, to be acceptable to God. So this is all kind of accusation he is bringing to us. That is nonsense, because God looks to you through the blood of Jesus. And these accusations just simply do not exist. They can paralyze your conscience, but we know that even if your conscience is accusing you, God is greater. These are two issues usually very much taught about. But what is real weapon the devil has is strongholds. The tricky thing about them is that they are dormant within you. They're not so easy to recognize, to perceive. Sometimes they may be known, but sometimes not. So stronghold, what it is, of course, we know our weapons are divinely powerful for the destruction of fortresses that are strongholds. And we are destroying speculations, any lofty thing raised up against the knowledge of God, and taking every thought captive to the obedience of Christ. So this is from the Bible here, from the Bible perspective here. So you see here fortresses. A fortress, a stronghold. A fortress, an enemy always puts a fortress at a place where he can overview everything. And so are strongholds. They come into your life, he places them into you, and you may not even be aware of it. Now, the definition, we will go to there, we will go to the origin, how do they develop and work, and how they can be overcome. So that will mainly be the topic for today. A very good definition, and that really gets it so sharp. I'm absolutely excited about this definition by Dr. Ed Silvoso. He says, a stronghold is a mindset. So you have set up your mind, conscious or subconscious. The mindset is impregnated with hopelessness that causes you to accept as unchangeable situations which we know they are contrary to the word and the will of God. So it is a mindset, and that has impregnated us inwardly in some region in our life with a hopelessness, that we have lost hope. And because of that, we accept something as unchangeable, a situation, a condition, of which in some way we actually know they're contrary to that what the word of God says and his will is. So you see already there is a real conflict somewhere within us. Let's say there's someone you think according to God's words. So every Christian has a desire, I want to measure up to God's words. I rejoice over it and I say, hey, that's great. But then there are specific situations and you disagree with it. Now, let's just go for a moment here and look at some examples. One example would be, there is someone, he's going to church and he's very lively with it. And the preacher is saying something, yes, you need to forgive. And he says, yes, of course, we need to forgive. He's all with it. Yes, of course, he understands the message. We need to forgive. It's so important. It hurts you if not, and we need to forgive. Church is over. He has clapped. He has rejoiced, and he's getting out. There is a brother comes to him. Hey, did you listen to this? Forgive? I says, yes. But you have a problem there. Yes. Okay, brother. That's okay. I know. But, and every stronghold starts with a but. You find reasons why you are an exception. You are an exception in this situation, because I can explain you this. It's a little bit more a tricky thing. I cannot forgive because this, and because number two, and because of number three. And now, if you really understand, if you would understand my situation, you would agree I can't do it. Or in marriage, yes, we know it is a present that I got a wonderful partner, but this one, the situation is such and such and such. I can't do it. It's just the marriage is a real problem for me. Or I know that kids are just a present from heaven, but these kids, they are so and so. I know that a marriage is something that is honored before God, and it is a triple junction, a triangle relationship. And I know it is so holy, but I cannot marry this person for that and that reason. There are so many difficulties in my life, and so and so, this has happened and that has happened, and for that reason I just cannot do it right now, but I would love so, and so on. So you get the point. And so this is something, or it may be you had a life that is very difficult, and over time you just got used to it. You got used to this, that you are partly in a prison, and you are living in that prison, in the prison of your thoughts, actually. But you think, well, I cannot get into a job. I've been out too long. I cannot make it. I am too old. I am not qualified enough. So I'm not sure. And now, or you have a disease and it is so long, it has happened. You got used to it. You got used to a certain situation. It is not godly, but time has done its work. And now you think, somehow you are trapped. Somehow you are trapped. But you do not like to think about it. It is a very uncomfortable point in your life. And if that is so, it's very likely it's a stronghold. Now let's return here. Let's return to PowerPoint. You see what I was saying here? You think according to God's word, but in specific situation you just. Now, what is the thing? Because well, okay, I just put it away. I just put it aside. The point on it is like a mine in a harbor. And now the ship is coming in and it's just enjoying. Well, I'm returning to the harbor. I'm in a safe place. And then, boom, the mine is exploding and hits it. It hits you in a moment where we are really not prepared to it. Or imagine you have a house. Everything is beautifully arranged. Guests are coming. But there's one room and there you put all the mess in. And now the moment that, so that for the guests, everything looks nice and neat. But now the guests enter. And at that moment, for some reason, the door bangs open. And this is the most inconvenient moment, because now all the mess is coming out, and this is exactly what you did not want to show. Now, the result of this is it hits you at the most inconvenient moment. The stronghold is coming back, and it hits you. Or it hits you on it hits you, you are doing fine, and then it hits you. Or it could also be that it just determines your entire attitude to life, your way you act, you do something. It puts like a cover on top of you. The origin. Let's go to the origin. The origin could be a trauma. You have a traumatic experience, something that was coming bang in your life, and your life which was changed from one moment to the other. It's a hindrance that just came into it. You are defocused from that moment on. It's very difficult to find back. Or situations where time is nagging. You could not manage for a long time something, a certain situation, marriage, kids, your isolation, your disease, whatever. And with time, you get used to it. And when we get used to something, we arrange with it. And that moment, we become a prisoner of that stronghold. Stronghold keeps you as a prisoner. How can it enter? Sin. Bitterness and forgiveness, any sin, opens a door, because then you arrange with something and then you get used to it. Stronghold now is a fortress of thoughts. You repeat it over and over again until it became truth for you, and then you're trapped. So this is actually an outcome. So the traumatic experience puts you in a different position than you were before. And then you arrange with it. Time, if you had on a longer time a bad situation, it puts you there, you get used to it. The entrance, again, it can be sin, it can be just a situation that hits you. But the outcome is at the end is similar. Of course, if you here can deal with the sin, it's the easiest way to get out of a stronghold. But a stronghold, otherwise, this fortress of thoughts where you are trapped. The point is, what are we going to do with it? How do they show up? Now, the interesting thing is, people, sometimes we do not realize it. Think of Laodicea. They thought they are rich. But Jesus says, well, you are not. You're poor. They thought, oh, well, we are doing so fine. We are so well. It's really so great. And he says, no, you're poor. The other thing is a stronghold can develop, and because you are out of position, reactions may show up that seemingly look so good. Now you think of Peter when Jesus said, well, I am going to be killed. I'm going to death now. And he says, well, someone, well, I'm going. And Peter says, well, by no means. No, whatever. And Jesus' only response was, get behind me, devil. So it seemingly looked like a good thought, but it wasn't. It was not in the will of God. It was not good. Or there was a story of a couple. A man got into trouble with his business, and his wife, because of an inheritance, she had some money, a lot of money, in fact. So they asked, oh, please, can you help me? I have problems here with our business. And it's our business. And she says, of course, I help you. What she didn't know, that at the same time, he had already a mattress. So she should have asked the Lord, is this okay? What is the situation here? And get a sense of what's going on. But she was just blind and good. To be good is good, but if you are blind for the actual situation, what's up? So at the end, what happened? She gave the money, she lost her money, and he disappeared out of her life with a mattress. So she had lost everything. She could have avoided it. So seemingly good thoughts. And the other thing is, strongholds may also develop in the shadow of your actual strengths. So there are people, they actually have a giver's heart. But something happened now in their life, and that led them to the decision that they say, well, I don't give anything anymore. Just because of this one situation, a trauma maybe they had in their life. Well, so you see this tragedy of the devil. He is really observing you. Where do you have your weakest point? And there he tries to get to you as early as possible in your life. Because when he gets you there, this thing can be dormant in your life. He can do with you whatever he likes. To summarize for a moment, strongholds, a summary now. The entrance is thinking. We think about something. It is a mindset. It can be sin, it can be trauma, an event, or the length of time nagging on us. So it is a way we think about things. There it starts. And never start somewhere else, because our mind, our head, our thinking is a gate. It's the ancient gate. It's the gate where everything enters. So from there, it goes on, it affects our emotion about something, and finally our action. Now, the bad thing about it is, no matter whether we are only here, but it will always have an effect on our emotions, and it will have an effect on our actions, and it will determine our life, it will determine our decisions, and at the long end, it deprives us from God's goodness, and it hinders us to find our destiny and the fulfillment where we actually supposed to go, and we miss it. So for that reason, it's very, very, very important to find out about strongholds and to deal with them. Now, you recall this year what we had. There is either a situation like Laodicea. They said, oh, well, we are doing very well. And the Lord says, no, you're absolutely in the negative. Come, get gold, buy from me without any costs. Get here. Or you're thinking miserable. I'm sick. I have this and this problem. You are in this area here. And you want, in order to get there, you recall, we need to go through the cross. We need to go through zero. We need to go to this place where He is. We have to deliver us up to Him, and this is a situation we are always coming back, and somehow to this situation that we are either in this part or in that part. Now here, that's obviously very much more difficult to recognize. If you feel miserable because of something that is in your life, it is sometimes more easy to recognize it than the Church of Laodicea, for instance. They probably, they were not at all aware. They think, oh, well, we are doing fine. But at the end, they had a stronghold. They couldn't see. Strongholds make you blind. Blind for the truth, blind for the reality, blind for that what really should be. If you have seen now how bad they are, how they're really hindering us, how they are taking all the potential, cutting it off from us, the point is how to overcome it. The very first thing is we need to be willing to identify them. As we have seen, there are two possibilities. They're either obvious or they're hidden. Some are obvious, some are hidden. And they're absolutely dormant. But even if they are obvious, if they determine our life, they are dormant and they will hit us in the most inconvenient moment. So we need to deal with it, and the question is how. So you need help. The help is of the supernatural. So therefore, do not lean on any man. You cannot lean on man. You cannot lean on man's help. For a certain degree, you can, but Jeremiah 17:5 tells us that the one who does it actually is under a curse. So you always look up to Him. You always receive as a help from Him, from Jesus Christ. You always go to the cross. You always bow down to Him. That's the only way. You expect your help from your Master, not from man. No matter what people tell you, even if they are sent from God, and they tell you good messages and they give you good help, don't look to men. They are a servant of the Lord Almighty. And you can receive via man, but at the end, you see your direction, your vision, you're absolutely affiliated with the Lord Almighty, your God, your Savior. Now, the recipe is outlined in James 4, verses 6-8. The very first thing is you humble before God. You humble because He says, well, the proud He resists. If you think, anyone who thinks, hey, I can do it by myself, or I'm strong enough, I'm actually so good, God resists the proud. So to humble before Him, and that means you submit to God. You submit to Him. You go through this 0 point. You go through the cross. And as you submit to Him, and you leave it to Him, you leave everything behind, and you're looking up to Him, this will strengthen you. And in this strengthened position, you are able to resist the devil. And while you do this, You're taking your stand. At the same time, you will draw then near to God. And then as the next point is coming, you cleanse your hands and you purify your heart. Now to resist the devil, you can put on Ephesians 6, you put on the armor of God. That is very important, that you live with the armor of God. But the armor, its function is that you are in total submittance to God, to submit to his word. You submit to his truth. You admit, yes, here I missed out, and I'm willing now to stand up for truth. I'm willing to accept truth in my life. I'm willing to see, Lord, how you see, to have your vision. I'm willing to make a change here. I give up lies. I got used to it. This impregnated mind that was impregnated with hopelessness. Lord, I submit to you. I submit to truth. I submit to your word. I submit to your love. And when you are there in his arms, his wings are coming to be a shadow over you. You come to that calm, to that calmness within, to that rest within. You are able to resist now the devil. And that's a very important thing to do now. We will go to this here now for the next moment. After you have all that, cleanse your hand. If there is sin, put it away. And then you purify your heart with truth. Now overcome. How do we overcome? The best thing is said in Revelation 12:11. And they have come because they're called now. Because they have overcome by the blood of the Lamb, by the word of their testimony, and they did not love their life even to death. The blood of the Lamb is holy. This is this that cleanses you. That is this that purifies you. This is this by which everything is taken away. Every shame is taken away. Every sin is taken away. The blood cleanses you from the thoughts that are not good. But now you stand up by the word of your testimony. And this testimony is in the invisible world and in the visible world. You speak the truth. You declare the truth. That's the word of your testimony. And whom do you say it to? You say it in the invisible world to those who were giving you the stronghold. They listen now, the testimony you give, the testimony of truth you speak. So they hear it. And that they recognize you have a stand. It is not so much what you think about yourself, but the word you speak. The word has a power. The word is this that impacted the invisible world. The word you speak as a testimony about yourself, about your situation, the true word. You declare God's wisdom. You declare God's purpose in your life. You declare that there is a way. You declare that you are a winner. You declare that you can do everything through the one who died for you, Jesus. You declare that every word is coming out of his mouth is truth in your life. You declare, for instance, Ephesians 1, that you read Ephesians 1 loud, and that becomes a declaration. And the invisible world is listening to it. And your heart is listening to it. And at the third one is very important. You do not stick to your life. If your heart is so with the Lord, you have the same attitude as Stephen had, not loving life to death. But something, the old ego is dying. The ego is dying. The old person that was sticking to the stronghold is dead. You do not love life. You do not love the treasures of the world. You do not love the things of the world. but you're connected with Him. You have a priority in Him, in His word, in His love, and the intimacy with Him. And now let's come to the most very important and the best of all. Romans 10, 8 to 10. The relation between your mouth, what you speak, and the heart. Now it says the word is near in your mouth, here's a typo, in your mouth and in your heart. So the mouth is mentioned first and in your heart, the word of faith. We said that you resist the devil. We said that you have a word of testimony, and this is what you speak with your mouth. And you speak it with your mouth first. And then you're the first one who is listening. It's coming down to your heart, the word of faith. So you confess with your mouth Jesus as Lord over whatever thing you have. You confess Him, He is the Lord over the sickness. You confess Him, He is the Lord over the situation, over all the evil that has been done to you, over all the shortcomings that are in your life, over all that loss of money you had. He is the Lord of that. He is the Lord over your job situation. He is the Lord over your marriage. You confess it. You declare that He is the Lord. You declare that He is the Lord over your kids. And this strong confession you made, that brings you to believe in your heart that God raised Him from the dead, and you shall be saved. His power, the power of the resurrection, is that power that brings you out. As we said, you need a supernatural to get rid of the stronghold. And now, observe this. As you have confessed, faith has grown in your heart. In your heart is faith. Faith is not a matter of your mind, because you can have all arguments right and still not have faith. Faith is something that is growing in your heart, and it is growing by the word of faith, which now you have spoken yourself. And you are the first one who listens, and your heart is transformed to faith. Faith is this, where you stand and you say, I know that I know that I know. I know that I know that I know. This is a situation. This is now God's situation. You have an absolutely shift within you from that where you were determined by the stronghold, and now you are determined by faith. Faith in the word of God. Faith in His goodness. Faith in the delivery. Faith that in you, absolutely, that you are saved, have a salvation from that you are separated, that you got liberated, that you got into freedom. And now, watch this, because you believe in your heart, and now you confess with your mouth. You see, this has turned around now. This has turned around. There we were first confessing, and then you believed in your heart. But now, you believe in your heart, and now you confess with your mouth. And guess what? This is a confession with authority. This is a confession of power. This is a confession. This is a declaration that changes things immediately. But you start off with confessing with your mouth truth, and it will settle down your heart. It will settle down. And then when you have belief, when you have faith in your heart, belief comes to righteousness. You know you can stand, and you know if our heart does not blame us, accuse us, then we have the absolute awareness of our righteousness. We go to the throne room, we go to God. 1 John 3, he says that if we come to Him in righteousness, the heart does not blame us. We can ask from Him whatever we want, and He will give it to us. And now you confess with your mouth. And this is salvation, and that makes the point to any stronghold. How long? It will start right now. Sometimes it takes 12 days. But you know, from our brain story, from our brain research, we have seen After 21 days, actually, if we get a good treatment, all the neurons, because so much of the strongholds actually is the thing in your brain, the neuron tree that needs to decay, the bad thing, it has to, better to say and more correct is that the good thoughts, the truth, lets a good tree build within you, the new neuron tree of truth. And now, the worst of it, after 40 days. No enemy can stay longer than 40 days. 40 days. If you treat with 40 days, he's over. 40-day fast, and you are over. 40 days, we're in the desert, Moses, Jesus. 40 days, and anything has to decay after 40 days. And it's interesting, the devil is called a fly. And flies, the longest they can live is 40 days. There are others, they die after a day. Others, they die after some kind of longer period of time. But no fly can live longer than 40 days. Well, that's why the devil is compared to a fly. If you have broken now, if you break these strongholds in our life, and again, one of the best ways is, if you're not sure about it, think about what you're thinking, how you envision certain situations. Whenever you argue with a but, that indicates that what is coming right now is a stronghold. The strongholds may concern, again, in a summary, your own life, what you do, what you can, where you are, what the future of your life is. It can concern your family. It can concern your neighbors, your neighborhood, your region, your country. Get rid of the buts. And then we live the life God has planned for us, that we are ambassadors of his kingdom, that are strong. Let's just go back for a moment. You're double-minded. Purify your heart, you're double-minded. Now, this is actually the very interesting thing. The double-mindedness. The double-minded cannot succeed because you can imagine you think truth on the one hand, and on the other hand, you think something else. So this is a double-minded situation. And a double-minded is never strong. A double-minded is insecure. A double-minded cannot win. A double-minded is that is attackable. So all that what we are talking about, strongholds, actually is a double-minded situation. James tells very clearly, tells us the double-minded is insecure in his ways. He cannot resist the devil. You are absolutely poor in resisting the devil at any way. Double-minded takes all the energy out of your life, all the success out of your life, and you're unable to really follow the purpose what the Lord has. So get rid of the buts. The buts are double-mindedness. And then we live as ambassadors in the kingdom. Then we are able to live the life he has for us. So I hope you understood something what is in my heart, that it is so important to deal with strongholds, because that is really what hinders us. We have seen how to recognize them. They are coming in over our head, over our thinking. They block our mind, our concepts, our visions. They block them. So we have to deal with it. And one way I found for me personally is wherever I have spoken of or a thought of but in my head, is the entrance, indicates, well, there is a stronghold. You can really scan your whole life. You can scan your visions. You can scan what you think, watch yourself, and match it with the truth of the word. And don't be ashamed, because you have learned now how to deal with strongholds whenever we find one. And I'm sure I personally have found, well, there was not only one, there are several, because there's so many levels in life, and they can set up, and they can come in. And Some things really have their origin way, way back when I was a kid. Some others just turned in by traumatic experiences. But if we know how to deal with it, we can get rid of any stronghold one by one and watch what the armor of God put this on, that we are safe walking along, and strongholds cannot be a fortress of the devil in our life anymore. And by then we are able to really fulfill the purpose he has for us, to go for it. And I greet you in this name of Jesus, and I wish you all success. And well, if you have questions, you have seen my website, you can go there, you can contact me, and it will be my love to help you and to come in contact with you, and that we together move on with this one wonderful destiny we have.